get to is one that I knew a lot about in the sense of people talk a lot about it. Now, I didn't
Okay.
know the nuts and bolts of the film. Obviously, I'm a massive Kurt Russell fan. I mean, not even like a little bit. I'm a massive Kurt Russell fan. Like, I love Kurt Russell.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, well, let's get into this.
This is Sheriff Franklin Hunt. Identify yourself right now, or I'll shoot you dead.
There's a situation.
Mrs. O'Dwyer was abducted. You know who did this?
I don't have a name.
How many of them do you think there are?
It won't matter. You have no chance against any number of them.
I'm riding out with Mr. O'Dwyer.
As will I. I've killed more Indians than everyone here put together.
Ambush!
You seeing all this? We didn't know what it was like.
We'll make sure all this has value.
And you basically have another remote town. These are some of the posters. Here's Matthew Fox. He plays like the local armed gunman who looks all suave because he's super good at slinging the
Yeah.
bullets and taking people out. And then you have the doctor, she's not really the doctor. She's the assistant to the doctor. The doctor is actually a drunk and not actually sucked up into
Yep.
all this drama. And then you have the backup deputy who kind of follows her. I like Chicory. Chicory is actually kind of a fun element in this film.
Yes,
And
I do too.
I will say that the thing I don't like, there he is. Okay. Arthur is the main character, right? So really, Patrick
Mhm.
Wilson's character is actually the main character. I feel a little bait and switch by people who were praising this movie. Like, this is not really a Kurt Russell movie. It is a Kurt Russell movie because he steals every scene.
Yeah,
However,
for
it's
sure.
really Patrick Wilson's story. And you have, Pat, he's there. He is back in town and gotten himself injured. Oh, we're spoiling stuff way ahead of time with these photos.
You're fine.
Yeah, let's get out of that. He's injured his foot falling off the roof because wife told him not to. Something happens in town where this random stranger comes in, played by Kurt Russell, shoots him in the foot, and you end up with like a sequence of events. And we need the doctor. The doctor's drunk, so the assistant doctor goes to help, which is his wife, and then Indians attack. We see it off camera. That was kind of a pet peeve. I don't like off camera stuff. It's one of my, I have to be consistent for those of you who love this movie. It happens off camera. I have no frame of reference about anything. I just know they've been taken. And basically, the movie
Mhm.
is a posse movie. We got to go get them, right? So you have Kurt Russell putting together a team with Matthew Fox's gunman, who is phenomenal in this movie. Patrick Wilson, who is
Yes.
okay. He's just limping around most of the time. He's really not particularly that interesting. Richard Jenkins as Deputy Chicory is kind of funny.
That tea smells gruesome.
It's soup.
You think I could have some?
I forgot the spoons. You think you could drink this without burning your mouth?
Oh, I like challenges.
Can't have my backup deputy pass out because he forgot to eat.
No, no, sir. That'd be shameful.
It's interesting because he's playing like old man, but doesn't seem to know much of anything. He's constantly asking people or talking stories, but I'm like, oh man, you should know, you should be the storyteller, but that's not really how the movie
Mhm.
played his character. And they're going to
Yeah,
go
true.
into they're going to go into the hills. The local Indian who gives them some advice and helps them know where to go is
Mhm.
a very educated Native American who calls them troglodytes and says, "Hey, listen,
Mhm.
there's these cave dwellers. Troglodyte means cave dweller, and
Yep.
they're inbred cannibals. Yeah, that's what they are. They're inbred cannibals. So they're going to eat the people they took. Just so you guys know, you're on the
Uh,
clock." And you're like,
yeah.
"What? Wait, what?" And the
Mhm.
movie, the movie is, it's called. This is Patrick Wilson's character laid up, and some of the different setup that goes on. So again, Tay, did you know anything about or heard of Bone Tomahawk before? Anything, any familiarity with this and what the setup was there?
I knew of it, and I knew of more of the darkness of it as far as like a horror western, like a darker western than a traditional. I was intrigued kind of going in with that mindset because I was kind of in, in comparison to after watching The Homesman, it's like it's a completely different circumstance of a film. So I had vaguely understood the concept of what it was, kind of like you said. I didn't realize how well casted it was aside from Kurt Russell, so it was good to kind of like see everybody, and I really enjoyed a lot of the casting here. It was overall it was definitely a shock in the fact that it wasn't really hyped up as much as I had anticipated it to be because of the circumstances of the film and how it was shot. But I mean, I guess like you said, it's just that's how westerns seem to be nowadays. They just aren't promoted
Mhm.
the same.
Yeah, the writer is S. Craig Zoller. This is his directional debut. He had been a screenwriter in
Okay.
Hollywood for a very long time, but he's also one of those screenwriters that didn't get a lot of stuff done. So what they do is they'll option you, pay you, 20 to 50 grand. You write your script, and guess what? It doesn't get made. Or you write a script and then it just kind of sits there. They have what was called the blacklist, which was like the most popular screenplays, and people would pluck out of there. Anyway, long story short, he makes this novel and decides and gets it done himself. Very low budget. I don't know how he got Kurt Russell and everybody else to work for
Oh,
$1.8 million,
yeah.
but the budget on this was only $1.8 million. What's tragic is because this movie is sort of ignored and put on the shelf. It also is happening when society is changing, because obviously politics are coming more into the lens of Hollywood, and critical responses were kind of mixed on this, where I think a lot of people love this film, but the film is also not a traditional Western where we're going to have a whole lot of stuff going on.
Mm,
It's a lot of stuff that happens off camera and then just going on a very long, long journey. And that was really, I think for me,
mhm.
that's probably one of the biggest negatives. Like about an hour or so in, I'm like, is anything ever going to happen in this movie? How you kind of felt a little bit, Tay?
Yeah. Yeah, lots of traveling. It was
Yeah.
it's good. It is a really good film. I feel like you said, you have a point where you're just kind of waiting, like you anticipate at that point that something's going to happen. There's going to be a big sudden circumstance, or and it doesn't happen for a little ways in. And but once it picks up, it picks up. So I will say that once it starts going, it's going. So you
Yeah.
gotta
Well,
hold on and be ready for
yeah.
everything
Once
after that.
they're once they're in the caves, boy, it gets nuts.
Yeah.
And people are, and
Yes.
there's stakes. We're gonna lose people we care. This is one of the cannibals. And I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say that if that is not your speed and you don't want to even remotely get into some of that kind of stuff, I
Don't
get
do
it.
it.
It is
Oh,
rough.
it's
The
yes, it
legacy
is.
of this
Very
film
gory.
The legacy of this film is about being like almost like a horror western. It turns into like being like a pretty bland
It is.
western, not much going on. I mean, literally, there's like this back and forth about just the eye scope. Like they're just constantly talking about the brand of this. Where do you get it from? What I'm like, I don't. Can we get on with something action, something happening? And then when they do,
Mhm.
you just don't have a lot to go. And reality is, we're supposed to understand more from an opening scene. So we didn't mention that there's an opening scene. It goes
Yeah,
by
very
pretty
true.
fast, and we don't really
Mhm.
understand if it really is supposed to matter or not, because there's not it's kind of generally alluded to this little these basically criminals, right? David Arquette
Yes.
is one of
Bandits, yep.
them, and Sid Haig, who's a phenomenal actor. They're there wandering onto this sort of Indian burial ground, and then they're attacked, and that's how David Arquette's injured and goes into town and all that kind of stuff. So I
Mhm.
don't know that that really is relevant to the story, though. Like it's stuff that's happening, but it's all about
Yeah.
this journey to get there. And I mean, I'm struggling because I'm enjoying the characters, but I'm not necessarily so attached. Like I didn't want Chicory to die. Like I was cheering for Chicory to survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
At
Yep.
this point, it's so long. I mean, look, I get it. Patrick Wilson's like there. I'm going to save my wife no matter what. Like I get it. I get it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I get what you're trying to go for. Is it me? He just never seemed likable. Just just really struggled with trying to bond to characters and cheer for and root for them. Because by the time you get to the end and everyone's where the cannibals are, and we find the girl, she's actually survived so far. So the other person that's there, let's just say he meets his demise. in one of the most graphic on-screen scenes that's not
Mm.
technically a horror movie that you'll ever see. I was pretty shocked they went
Wow.
that far. I was. Was it a little too much for you? It was a
Yeah.
little too much for me, but it was like, holy cow, they're going
Um,
there.
well, seeing as how I love true crime like my mother, it's a little bit different for me. So I don't think it was necessarily like I I don't wanna say that I couldn't watch it, but realistically, putting it into perspective of, like, this these things actually can happen, and this is something that could have been real, is what really starts to hit you,
Mm.
is the realism that goes into Westerns. So I feel like that's more disturbing, whereas, like, in some of these horror films you watch, you're like, "That's never gonna happen in a million years." So this is that realism is why it was so hard to watch in this specific part. Going back to, like, what you said about certain characters, I feel like aside from the fact that a lot of stuff was drawn out and it took a while to kinda have the buildup that we were waiting for, it's I feel like the reason why they throw those characters in there is because they want you to kind of have all the different personalities that would be on a journey, I guess. You gotta have the person that's just, like,
Yeah, that's fine.
moaning and groaning all the time, and he doesn't really wanna be there, but he's there because he feels obligated to be because his wife's involved, but he's injured. Like, he's going into this journey injured. They know that. So it's like he's only coming along because of the circumstances. I feel like outside of that and kind of sitting on that mindset the whole entire time, it wasn't as much of a turn off for me because I kind of knew once he was accepted into the party of the for rescuing, it was going to be like that the whole time. He was going to be difficult to handle. I love that we were both like cheering on for Chicory because his dialogue with the sheriff and with everyone the whole entire time, he was definitely my favorite. I feel like he was kind of like the random spurts of comic relief that we needed in this film, and Chicory's the one that made it happen. He just kind of like he had such good dialogue, such good character development, and overall, I feel like if they had taken away some of that, like that, the random conversations or the random things that would have happened on the journey, it would have felt more natural and it would have worked out better as far as the transitions.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give credit for Matthew Fox and Bruder. He's like the gunman guy. His character is fantastic, and I think that
Yes.
if this guy had written like a Bruder prequel novel or something, I think that would be a story that people would enjoy because it seemed like we weren't.
Mhm.
Bruder is good enough, and Matthew Fox is fantastic that you would want more Bruder. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
just to give you guys a tease, this is the PG-13 version of how bad this movie gets. Like this is so radical of what they're doing, the torturing, the Kurt Russell. It's nuts. This guy is literally uh carved a piece of one of the cannibals to make this whistling sound. This is like a piece of the dude. This is a piece of the dude that he's blowing in. Like this is nuts. So
Yep.
the
It's
legacy of the
crazy.
film is taking the worst possible elements of a tribe like this that could exist. I don't, because I don't know what's historical and what's not. I really kind of looked a little bit, and I really couldn't
That's
get a
true.
frame of reference because he wrote a
Mhm.
novel, but I can't get footnotes enough on the novel to know what there are remote clans of tribesmen, Native Americans that are become cannibals or whatever. And cannibalism is known to kind of drive you a little batty. So fair enough.
Yep,
All
yep.
this is crazy, but I feel like I didn't need to sit through over an hour of my life to get this movie's over 2 hours long. I easily
Mhm.
could lose a lot of time. So 132 is our runtime. I would definitely lose almost, I mean, probably 30 minutes. I mean, there's a lot of wasted time. We could have sped it up. But again,
Yeah.
when I say that, I'm not talking about whole sequences for those of you who are like, oh no. It's like when we're walking, we can just trim out a minute here and 30 seconds there and 2 minutes here and this didn't. So there
Mhm.
weren't like it really slogs along for
Yeah,
almost
that's true.
all of that time. I mean, literally an hour and a half is for basically 30 to 40 minutes of payoff. So really disappointed with my Bone Tomahawk experience. Mixed feeling because people I know that I love this movie. I also do get some of the interesting elements of the movie and why people would like it.
Oh, yeah.
I
Mhm.
can't imagine sitting through this one again either. It feels like, yeah, thanks. I've watched that one. Can't imagine watching it again. I get why you guys like it, just not my bag, and not
Sure.
sure I totally feel rewarded after watching it. Like, I don't know enough about my takeaway, and because it doesn't feel like it even really fits within the Old West genre. It feels like it's its own little
True. Very,
subgenre
very
of
much.
like a horror western. It's very, very
Mm-hmm.
strange with how they want to do it. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5, and that's a kind of, it leans low, like, 2.75. I mean, it literally is like
Yeah, I get
5.5
it.
out of 10 kind of thing is how I lean in this, because I don't feel like I'm happy that Kurt Russell was in it. He was great when he was on screen. His character doesn't offer me a whole lot. Like, he doesn't really have much to do. Like,
That's fair.
he's just a stereotypical lone man. Hopefully he'll survive to his wife. Chicory is the thread that holds it all together, because Matthew Fox is
Yeah.
really good. Patrick Wilson's character, I actually am kind of disappointed. So the biggest negative for me is Patrick Wilson. It's his story, his movie. He survives. He's the hero. It's whatever. I'm like, oh, ridiculous. He would have been dead on the trail. Sorry, folks.
Oh,
Dead
doesn't
on
make
the
sense. Yeah.
trail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Broken foot,
Yeah. I agree.
resetting the foot. He would have been passed out and left for like 10 hours. The fact that he could hobble
Mm-hmm.
along and catch up is ridiculous. Like, if you have your foot like that and you pass out, you're out for hours. You are not catching up.
Yeah.
So that part, I can't get there. So, not forgiving. What say you, Tay?
So this one was hard for me because I actually really did enjoy it. The only nitpick that I really had was the transition walking scenes, parts of it, and then trying to justify why Patrick Wilson was able to keep going. Other than that, though, I really loved it. I think between Matthew Fox and Richard Jenkins is acting in this, I like 100%, regardless of the fact that Kurt Russell's face was stamped on it. I thought that those two were my favorite in the whole thing. I kept going because I wanted to see what would happen with their characters, how they would grow, the intensity that would happen. And like I said earlier, once it got intense, I was all in. I was like, wow, this is getting crazy. Like, it was chaotic, kind of seeing more so of the Native American, like, side of it, and how like they were portraying such a dark form of Native American and how brutal it could get. And like you said, I would never really say that this was like historical fiction, which some people might, but I just think it was more of just like a horror fiction take of the Western, um the genre, and kind of expanding it into something different and unique. But I really liked it a lot. I thought the transition, once it did start getting into the more action and the suspenseful horror side of it, it intrigued me because it was something unique and different as far as the writing went and the dialogue. Um, the only I would probably stick with a 3 because I'm kind of in between on this one. I really wish that they had cut back on a lot of stuff that they included for the transitioning and the walking. I really wish that if they were going to stick with Patrick Wilson as the main, that they did more with him and made him more intriguing and interesting to where I liked him if he was going to be the main. But I mean, I'm sticking with 3 just because it's hard for me to pinpoint. It's almost like this is one of those unique circumstances where I would probably rewatch it to kind of make a final opinion on it.
Hmm.
So,
That's
because
fair.
now that you know more about that opening sequence and the importance of it, I feel like rewatching it, you would be like, oh, okay, now I'm realizing all this stuff that I didn't pick up on right away because I was paying attention to this instead. And I feel like that would kind of help me make a solid opinion and rating on it instead of it just kind of being this middle ground that I'm stuck in.
And I think that's fair. This is a film that if you rewatch it and have a different reaction to, or you can appreciate more. And maybe
Yes.
that's where I'm at too. My initial
Yeah.
reaction is, and then as you watch it again, you're like, okay, the first 20 or 30 minutes aren't as bad as I remembered. It's a little better than I
Yes,
thought. There's some
exactly.
character development that
Yeah.
has some payoffs that I didn't really see the first time, because there's going to be some massive gaps
Exactly.
of not a whole lot happening. And yeah, anyway, so I think that's fair. We basically come down in a very similar way, even though we have some differences of likes. And I think that's what makes this fun to talk about. And Bone Tomahawk is definitely one to,
Yeah.
if you have the stomach for the latter half of this movie,
Treat it as a horror film, gory horror film. If you go
couple
into it in that
points.
mindset, you have to be ready for it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, once you get to this, they find those troglodyte cannibals, you are in for it. That's all I'm going to tell you. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
westerns are interesting. Definitely an interesting genre that it's almost like people are trying to figure out what they want to do with the western genre. So we have different kinds of films.